DEI, it feels like the elephant in the room lately, especially if you're working in city government or the public sector. Like, we all see it, but no one really wants to address it head on.
Hmm.
And it's something we're diving deep into today. And, looking at these sources, I think they really capture this feeling.
Yeah, it's like that poem,
Hmm.
that silent elephant just sitting there. It creates this tension and this awkwardness, you know what I mean? But just because you're ignoring it doesn't mean it's not there. It might even make things worse.
And the thing is, this isn't some abstract concept. It's really having an impact, especially for folks in the public sector. I mean, the decisions made around DEI, they directly affect the communities you serve,
Mm.
and ultimately, let's face it, the bottom line.
Yeah, absolutely. And, we're seeing this real shift happening right now. Like the sources point out that 37 states have already brought in bills this year targeting DEI initiatives, and 42% of HR leaders say their DEI budgets are being cut. It's a real push and pull out there.
Yeah. I was reading about Target. They've decided to scale back their DEI program. But then you've got Costco, right?
Hmm.
Where the shareholders completely doubled down. They voted overwhelmingly to keep their DEI policies in place.
It is. It's such a mixed bag. And it brings us to this first approach. Our sources call it running around. And it's basically where organizations are making all these symbolic gestures, but there's no real substance behind them. They might update their website, maybe host a couple of events, but it's all very surface level.
It's like putting a Band-Aid on a broken leg.
Exactly. In the long run, this kind of performative approach can really backfire because people see through it and it erodes trust, especially in the public sector, where transparency and accountability, they're paramount. If people feel like their government's not walking the walk, it can really damage their faith in the whole system.
Yeah, maybe it's better to just address the elephant in the room head on. And I like that our sources called this approach doubling down. Sounds way more proactive.
Yeah, it is. It's really about weaving DEI into the very fabric of the organization. It's about aligning your DEI efforts with your mission, using data to demonstrate its impact, and building strong coalitions both internally and externally.
Okay, so let's break that down a bit. How does aligning DEI with your mission actually play out in, let's say, a city government setting?
Well, imagine a city council. They're trying to come up with solutions to affordable housing. A diverse team, one that brings a bunch of lived experiences reflecting the people they serve, that's the team that can bring more nuanced solutions to the table. They'll come up with innovative ideas. That's how DEI can directly impact outcomes and build public trust.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's not just about optics. It's about actually using these diverse perspectives to come up with the best solutions.
Exactly. And to make a strong case for DEI, data is key. Our sources really stress the importance of data-driven advocacy. One thing they point out is that organizations without a DEI commitment, they see twice as much employee turnover, especially among underrepresented employees. And you got to think about the cost of losing that talent and that experience, and they even put a number on it, citing a potential loss of $1.5 million annually due to lower productivity and people leaving.
That's huge. It really shows that DEI isn't just some nice-to-have initiative. It's an investment with real, tangible benefits.
For sure. And remember, doubling down also means building those coalitions we talked about.
Right. So how do you actually do that? Because, getting everyone on board, both within your department and the whole community, can feel like a lot.
Our sources suggest starting internally. Partner up with those employee resource groups, the EORGs. They can be such powerful allies, giving insights and support for all your initiatives.
Yeah, so it's like building a network of champions from within. What about engaging the community, those external stakeholders? What can you do there?
It's all about outreach. Be proactive. Share your DEI goals, and you know what? Ask for feedback, be open to it, and then look for opportunities to partner up on projects. And one thing that really helps is to highlight those success stories from other organizations, because seeing what works in other places can really motivate people.
Yeah, so it's like instead of reinventing the wheel, you're learning from those who are already making a difference.
Right. It's all about using that shared knowledge and those resources to make a bigger impact.
Makes sense. So now let's switch gears and talk about this third approach, this running away, which seems to be the just bury your head in the sand approach to DEI.
Yeah, it is. And honestly, I can kind of see why some organizations might be tempted to go this route. With all the pushback and the political pressure, sometimes it just feels easier to step back. Just avoid the issue altogether.
But, our sources warn that running away from DEI, that's a pretty risky move.
It is. And the consequences, both short-term and long-term, they can be really significant. Like in the short term, you're probably going to see a jump in employee turnover, especially among those who are already feeling undervalued or marginalized. And think about the impact that has on your organization's morale and their productivity and even your reputation.
Makes sense. I mean, why would talented individuals want to stay in an environment where they don't feel seen or supported? And especially in the public sector, where that lack of diversity can have a direct impact on the community you're serving.
Exactly. Imagine a city planning department that lacks diversity. They might miss those super important nuances when they're designing public spaces. And then that leads to unintended consequences and inequitable outcomes for certain groups of people.
So basically, by running away from DEI, you could be making the problems you're trying to solve even worse. What about long-term risks? Our sources mentioned reduced innovation and agility. How does that come into play?
Think about it. You've got a team with really limited diversity. They're trying to tackle a huge challenge. Let's say something like adapting to climate change. Without all those different perspectives and lived experiences, their solutions aren't going to be as innovative or as effective.
It's like that saying, two heads are better than one. But only if those two heads think differently.
Exactly. And that's why running away from DEI just isn't a good long-term strategy. It might offer some temporary relief, but it comes at a high cost, both for your organization and for the people you serve.
So we've got these three approaches: running around, doubling down, or running away. But what does it all mean for you, the listener? What are the key takeaways you can apply to your organization?
Well, our source material has some great advice. First, tailor your DEI approach to your organization's mission. Ask yourself, how does DEI help us do our jobs better and serve our community better?
So it's about making sure that DEI is a part of everything you do. It's not just some extra thing on the side.
Right. Exactly. And the sources also highlight the importance of data-driven KPIs, those key performance indicators.
Yeah.
It's all about how you're going to measure success and demonstrate the return on investment of your DEI efforts.
So you need to be able to show that DEI is having a positive impact, whether it's employee well-being, productivity, innovation, sustainability, and, in the end, better outcomes for the community.
That's what it's all about. And one more thing the source emphasizes is leadership resilience. You got to train managers on those DEI principles, give them the tools they need to create inclusive teams, and really stress how important leadership is in making DEI work.
So it can't just be a grassroots effort. It has to be something that's really supported from the top.
Absolutely. And that also means being ready to deal with any pushback, because DEI work isn't always easy, but it's definitely essential.
Okay, so we've talked about aligning DEI with your mission, using data to show the impact, and building leadership resilience. Is there anything else organizations can do to support DEI, especially in the current climate?
Well, the sources have a whole section on building public-private partnerships. This is where you bring in those allies and collaborate with people outside of your organization.
So you're not working in a silo. You're reaching out to other organizations, other community groups, and really taking advantage of those resources that can make your DEI efforts stronger.
The source actually specifically mentions connecting with national resources, like PSHRA. They can offer guidance and support, even best practices. And they also recommend working on some collaborative projects with other organizations.
Okay, so for example, a city government could partner up with local businesses or even nonprofits or other towns to develop some joint DEI programs.
Right, and by pooling your resources and all that expertise, you can create a much bigger impact.
It's kind of like that saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together.
I like that, because at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, working together, across all those differences to make sure equity stays at the heart of public service, even when things are tough.
And it all comes back to that core message from the sources. DEI isn't some extra thing or just a buzzword. It's the foundation. It's what builds innovation and trust and effective governance.
It is. And especially for folks in public service, it is absolutely crucial. When you create a workplace and a community where people feel valued and respected, and they're empowered to bring their own unique talents to the table, that's when amazing things can happen.
Couldn't have said it better myself. We've covered a lot today, so let's take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll finish up this deep dive with some final thoughts and a question for you to think about.
It's funny, right? We started this whole conversation talking about DEI as that elephant in the room, that thing that's just kind of looming there. And it really highlights the choice we all have to make. Do we deal with it head on? Or do we just pretend it's not there and hope it goes away?
And I think what we've talked about today really shows that ignoring it isn't an option, especially when you think about the public sector, the work that you do, every decision, it all has an impact on the community.
Absolutely. And what's great about the sources we've looked at is they really lay out the options. They call them running around, doubling down, or running away. And each one, comes with its own set of consequences, not just for organizations, but also for the people they're supposed to be serving.
Right, right. So let's do a quick recap of those approaches. Running around, that's the one that's all about surface level stuff, right? All show, no substance.
Yeah, yep, exactly. Like, imagine putting a fresh coat of paint on a building, but underneath, it's totally falling apart. It might look good from far away, but it doesn't fix the real problems.
And in the long run, it can actually do more damage than good. People aren't stupid, you know?
Yeah.
They see right through it, and then the trust is gone, especially in the public sector.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because, people need to be able to trust their government. They need to know that you're serious about this stuff, about equity and inclusion. If they don't see it, then they get cynical, they check out, they don't want to engage.
So then you've got doubling down.
Yeah.
That's more proactive, right?
Yeah.
More intentional. It's about actually making DEI part of everything you do, aligning it with your mission, tracking the results with data, and building those relationships, those coalitions.
Exactly. You're moving past those surface level things and really investing in it, Because when you have people with different experiences and different ways of thinking, it leads to better decisions, better ideas, and stronger communities.
Okay, and then there's running away.
Yeah.
Basically just saying, nope, not dealing with this. Our sources say that this might seem like the easy way out, but it can have some serious consequences down the line.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because when you run away from DEI, you're basically saying the way things are is fine, even if it's unfair. And in the public sector, that can have a huge impact, on all the people you're supposed to be helping.
So to everyone listening, if you're thinking, okay, I get it, I need to take action, but where do I even start? What's the first step?
Well, the sources had a really good tip about that. Start by looking at your organization's mission. Like, what are you trying to achieve? How does DEI help you do that better? How does it help you serve your community better?
It's about making sure DEI isn't just some separate thing. It has to be a part of everything you do.
Exactly. And, don't be afraid to get creative. There's no one right way to do this. Think outside the box. What are some new solutions, some new ideas? What's going to actually make a difference in your organization and in your community?
The sources also talked a lot about the importance of data, right? It's not enough to just want to do good. You have to be able to prove that it's working. You need to show the impact of those DEI efforts.
Absolutely. You need those key performance indicators, the KPIs,
Yeah,
to track your progress and prove that it's worth the investment.
exactly. So show how DEI is having a positive impact. Things like employee morale, how productive people are there more new ideas? How is it affecting sustainability? And most importantly, is it improving the services you're delivering to your community?
That's the big question. And remember, this isn't something you have to do on your own. There are people out there who can help you on this journey, Connect with those organizations like PSHRA. Reach out to other people doing this work in other places. Learn from what they're doing and build those partnerships, because that's how you make a real difference.
I love that proverb. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together.
Right. And I think that's really the heart of DEI. It's about working together, even with all our differences, to create a world that's fair and equal for everyone.
Now, before we wrap things up, we want to leave you with one final question to think about. So we've talked about those three approaches, running around, doubling down, and running away. But the question is, for you, for your community, which path is the right one?
Yeah, that's a thing, isn't it? There's not really a one-size-fits-all answer. It's going to be different for every organization and every community.
And it's not a one-time decision either, is it? This whole DEI thing, it's a journey, You're constantly learning, constantly adapting.
For sure. You got to stay informed, be open to new ideas, and be willing to, challenge the way things are done. And you know what? You don't have to do it alone. There are so many resources out there and people who've already been down this road.
Yeah, our sources mentioned PSHRA,
Yeah.
the Public Sector Human Resources Association. They're a good place to start, right? They've got tons of information, guidance, best practices, and you can connect with other people who are, dealing with the same things you are.
Yeah, that's so important. Learning from each other, working together, talk to other municipalities, talk to those community leaders, find those partners who can help you make a bigger impact.
So as you're figuring all of this out, remember what we've learned today. DEI, It's not about checking boxes or filling quotas. It's about creating a workplace
Right.
where everyone feels valued and respected and like they can truly contribute.
Exactly. It's about seeing diversity as a good thing, not a bad thing, and building a world that's more inclusive and equitable for everybody, both inside your organization and in the community.
So keep asking those questions. Keep challenging the way you think about things and keep trying to make a difference.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, DEI, it's about more than just rules and programs. It's about creating a world where everybody has the chance to thrive.
Well said. And that wraps up our deep dive into the world of DEI. We hope you've gotten something out of it and are feeling inspired to take action. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep making a difference. We'll see you next time.